All right, guys, welcome back in. This is JE Live, and joining me is a very special guest. He's a comic book legend, the creator of Deadpool, Cable, and many others. Please welcome, diehard Rams fan too. Please welcome Rob Liefeld. How you doing,
Woo!
man?
Oh my gosh, so excited to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. I'm so happy, to be able to have you on. Big fan of yours. And obviously, we got, in touch on Twitter, talking about, the Rams. And I think I mentioned something about the Deadpool 3 movie, which was off the chain. And, we've been
And
connected ever since.
Jake, I followed you because on social media because of your Rams. You had good takes. I've been at least since last year, before the playoffs. Like I said, I collect, Rams, smart Rams takes, and you're a little more brash because you're a little younger. I'm no spring chicken. Okay, I'm an older guy, so I pick my battles differently. But no, I'm so glad we met over social media, and then you invited me here, and I could not be more excited to talk to you today.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, of course, social media can be toxic, but this is the beauty about social media. This
Yeah.
is the good about social media. Connected, like minded people. Speaking of which, I got to ask you, because you are a comic book legend, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of people in my Discord that were really excited about you coming on. They knew exactly who you were, and they're like, wait, he's a Rams fan? That's freaking awesome. So,
My whole life. My whole life.
so I gotta start. What led you down the road of becoming a comic book legend?
Well, legend is going to be up for interpretation. I've definitely I started in the '80s, so '80s, '90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020. I've got my footprints across 5 decades in this business. I love it. I broke in when I was 18 years old. It's all I've ever known. It's all I ever wanted to do. I mean, this spinner rack behind me is an old style spinner rack, and that's how I encountered comics on all the different outlets, whether it was a 7-Eleven, a liquor store. I've talked on my podcast about there was 3 corners on the 4 corners at this, where Broadway and Magnolia met in Anaheim, California. And 3 of those locations, the market, the food market, the 7-Eleven, and the liquor store, all had comic books, and they were cheap. Four for at one point when I got in, they were 20 cents. Then they went to 25 cents, so I can get 4 for a buck. And it was just something that I was addicted to immediately. And I traded, I was able to trade with my the guy that my dad took his the barber shop. He had some Marvel comics that I had never encountered, and at that point, my parents were only letting me interact with Casper, Richie Rich, kind of the safe, cartoony, and I had to have this Fantastic Four. It was Fantastic Four 147. It's got Prince Namor, the Submariner, bursting up out of the ocean to battle the Thing, and I was able to trade because my barber, his name was Fred, said, "Well, call me Robbie. Well, Robbie, as long as I can replace this, I'll trade you. Do you have some comics?" So I gave him a Casper and a Richie Rich. He gave me that Marvel comic, and I was addicted for life. And this crosswalk, this intersection, is what I passed every day walking to school and more importantly, walk on the way home. So whether it was 7-Eleven to grab a candy bar or the liquor store, and trust me, I tell everybody it was the safest liquor store, but man, this all the way in the back, aisles and aisles of booze and liquor, and they had the best spinner rack. They carried the most. The father and son that ran it, I think, were just totally entertained by me. But I lived there on the weekends, just grabbing comics. And people always say, "Why aren't these in bags and boards?" That didn't exist when I was a kid. You got comic books beat to shit, okay? Like they were in bad condition. You were lucky if the cover was still hanging on it, right? So, at that point, then I started drawing pretty much, 7, 8, 9, and never looked back. Used high school to kind of all the free time I had to prepare to break into comic books. Was fortunate at a convention in Oakland, California. Drove up there with my buddy, got hired by Marvel Comics, never looked back. Have had a really just a fun time. I do comics because I love them. At this point, that's what people don't understand. Like, I don't need to draw comics again in my lifetime. I do it because it's my passion. I love seeing them, whether I print them, produce them, Marvel prints them, produces them. I'm addicted to the art form, the craft, the storytelling. And as long as I can, I'm going to just continue to tell comic book stories. And, one of my favorite stories is I took over a book that was the lowest selling of the X-Men titles, called The New Mutants. I always hated that name too. Hard to say. New Mutants, X-Men, so easy. X-Men, X-Factor, Wolverine, those New Mutants. Get you, say it 5 times fast, you'll flub. I said, they basically said, Rob, there's no way in the world that you would want this book. We're about to cancel it. I said, give it to me. I'll flip it. I see the potential. So I brought my friends. I got them right here. They face me on I brought my friend's Cable.
Hey,
and, I brought my friend Deadpool.
Love that.
We changed the course of history on that book. When New Mutants wrapped up, it was the #1 X-Men book outselling X-Men, and then obviously X-Force. I was able to convince them to do X-Force, and X-Force really showcased Cable, Deadpool, Domino, everybody, and there was no looking back. But once you achieve those kind of heights in a corporate structure, I was smart enough at 23 to know like I've kind of maxed out here. And so then I wanted to go out on my own and launch my own independent comics. And I felt like there was a space that creators who had a big fan following, you could transfer your eyeballs to the next thing. And I was able to convince my friends and Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, all of us, we formed Image Comics, and then we changed comic books for good forever, because people told us Image Comics wasn't going to last. Okay, that's my funniest. People would be like, "You guys are going to be out of business in 2 years." 33 years later, joke's on them. Okay, we got the last laugh, so it's pretty fun.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, you ended up creating characters such as Deadpool. And I want to ask you, how the heck did you create that character, the Merc with the mouth, man? It's
so I was a big Spider-Man fan. I can tell you right now, I was a big Spider-Man fan, and it was really out of necessity, strategically, deadlines, so much played into it. Cable had really blown up, and we had already added 500,000 sales. It was New Mutants was blowing up, and I'm going to write the book and draw the book. And I figured I needed something big, and I figured I could introduce this character. And full face mask. I had spent years being told by my friend Todd McFarlane how much easier it is to do that. It's so easy. Rob, you'll do a page so much faster if you have face mask. And I'm like, man, I am getting tired of measuring these eyes and drawing a nose and mouth and stubble and hair and cheekbones, and boom. I said, black and red works for me. Spider-Man's kind of black and red and blue. I loved bounty hunters, mercenaries, and figured I could introduce him. And the thing that people need to go back in time, in 1990 and 1991, we were in the after effects of a book called The Dark Knight, which Frank Miller had produced, which really darkened the outlook of Batman, made him more violent, made him more mature, darker, and suddenly everybody wanted to scratch that nut. They wanted to put that in their own work. It really didn't have a place for me, but Todd, you go back to look at his Spider-Mans, and he'd tell you he was trying to do a darker. His Spider-Man was bleak. He wasn't funny. He was. Was his marriage going to survive with Mary Jane? Was he going to keep his job? Really dark villains. And I'm like, wow, we've just lost the Spider-Man I grew up with, who was a smartass.
Yeah.
So when I said to Marvel, and it's, part of the historical lore, my editor, I said, I want to do Spider-Man with guns and swords, because, I can pull off that smartass. And so he hits the scene. Those pages in New Mutants 98, he's funny, he's making cracks, and we had just scratched the surface. And the most male physical people watching this, there was no email in 1991, not a single email existed. Everything was FedEx, was faxing, and Marvel got the biggest fan mail on Deadpool that they had. They told me this. They were quite in awe. They're like, this is the most fan mail we've gotten on a character in 15 years. They sent it all to me. They boxed it up. I got giant. I thought they sent me a washer dryer. The boxes, I could have lived in the boxes that they sent me. And I ripped it open. I read every single piece of mail, literally at least 1,500 pieces of mail, handwritten. Love Deadpool. Can't wait to see him next. And you know what? I forgot, but in the letters column of New Mutants 100, someone showed me last year, you can see they printed 3 people who are like, I love this guy. I love that he's funny, that he's dangerous. I love the way he looks. We all too often we discount that a way a character looks is why we love them. When I am 9 years old, sitting in the cinema, watching Star Wars in late May of 1977, and when Darth Vader enters, and I'm like, he's like a dark samurai. Like I had watched enough, kung fu movies and karate stuff that was all the rage back then. I understood. I go, wow, he's got an Eastern tinge to him. He's very samurai. And then my dad was a Baptist minister. So when Obi-Wan stumbles onto the scene, I'm like, he looks like fill in the prophet, Elijah, Elisha, Isaiah, Jeremiah. He looks like I'm a prophet he looked like he stepped out of the 10 Commandments next to Charlton Heston, right? And I just was I got it. I understood. Then we went to the cantina and there's a cowboy. You got Han Solo, the cowboy. You got a mystical prophet type guy. You got this. We really do respond to looks and visuals. And Deadpool, oh, yeah. I mean, look, man, it's 33 years later. That's what he looks like. This is, so many characters have changed. Thor's had 15 costumes. Captain America's had 15. Spider-Man's got 15 costumes. Effing Deadpool, okay? This is how we like him, how we absorb him. Got that side of it. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
T-bone steak there. It's so I think you can't, as an artist, I'm always like really preaching that, like, we underscore why did everyone like Kylo Ren the minute they saw him? Great design.
Loves Kylo Ren.
Great design. From the minute I was a kid, I was like, Boba Fett, love him. Thought he went out like a total bitch. They didn't maximize him in my childhood.
So true.
Like, I was like, in 1983, I'm like, okay, now they're going to do something cool with him. Oh my God, what happened? Then obviously the Mandalorian cashed all those checks when they decided to go full.
Oh yeah.
I know the show's not Boba Fett, but that's Boba Fett's armor and the Mandalorian lore. And again, it's a visual. So look, Jake, I was just really fortunate that I was one with the culture at the time, because whether it was Cable, Domino, whether it was Deadpool, I mean, and here's the deal. This is the great part of my life. That's Josh Brolin, Ryan Reynolds, Zazie Beetz. I got these great, amazing, fantastic talents to portray my characters. So that is also like another checks all the boxes. Just I keep hitting them out. Like, it's Blake Lively's Lady Deadpool. Hello. I mean, they could not have landed the plane more perfectly. I mean, I have had such great fortune. And I'm just having a blast. I absolutely love drawing comic books. Will continue to do so, even though like it's a task, man. You take a blank piece of paper and you fill it up from top left to bottom right. And I still work on paper with actual tools. Most of the industry's gone to all the magic wizardry of digital tools and digital drawing pads, but I'm old school. I'll draw on paper till I die. I've tried that digital shit. I can't do that press touch. I need the tooth of the paper. I need the ink. Okay. So.
Hey, I can't do either. So much respect.
Well, I don't host a podcast show. So, hats off to you, buddy.
Hey, well, I appreciate that. I want to ask you, because we'll get into, I know some people are like, where's the Rams talk? We'll get into that. But we do have the creator of Deadpool. Come on now.
Hey, we're going to talk Rams.
What was your first thought seeing your creation in Deadpool come to the big screen and just kind of the public response? And I'll piggyback that too. Did you have anything to do with that Rams mention in Deadpool 3?
No, but I thought, okay, so here's the deal. I did not, but I knew that Sean Levy is a Rams fan. He goes to the games.
No way.
Yeah. He
Oh
and
my God.
the original producer, Simon Kinberg, have also attend in LA. They attend the Rams games, not the Chargers game, the Rams games.
Love that.
But no, when I heard that, look, man, how about being a Rams fan your whole life and not making that connection to Wolverine? Okay. I believe one of the writers, Zeb Wells, told me that was his line. He actually told me at the premiere or afterwards, he actually said that was his line. He didn't think it would make the cut, but it made the cut, and I loved it. Right? I mean, so funny. It was so
funny.
How did I not see that my whole life? Because my favorite character is Wolverine. Look, the first time Deadpool appeared in Wolverine Origins, the first 15 minutes where Ryan is portraying Wade Wilson is perfect. Slicing the bullet, so fun. I warned them repeatedly, all the execs at Fox, I knew them. I warned them this bastardization that you're doing of Deadpool at the end of the movie is going to go over terribly because it is terrible. Don't worry about it, Rob. No, we got it covered. No, you didn't. and then they immediately they called me in August of 2009 and said, Rob, we broke Deadpool. We realized we did not listen. We want you to help us. And I started helping them break stories for the movie that would eventually be the 2016 breakout film. So very exciting. And obviously that moved that.
And you were in that, right?
I'm sitting at the bar. He says, Liefeld, he gives me the scene was a little longer, but the knife that they were supposed to stab my hand with, the guy who stabbed me, a sweet guy, he plays Fat Gandalf. He sweated profusely. It was pretty hot in that bar.
Ooh.
On the knife, and the prop knife got so wet it was wobbly. So it kept bending when they stabbed me. Because he was putting it through my fingers, like on the bar, and then it was supposed to go in my hand. Fuck! I was supposed to, but the knife kept getting so wet and wobbly, and then they're like literally called out, "Do we have another prop knife?" That's the only one they had that day, so that was cut. And but it was fun. Look, I don't ever need to be in the films. I just love being on set, watching all the magic, come to life.
I just love it because I mean, to see like your creation come to life. I mean,
yes.
I got a little sample of that, not anywhere near on your level, but like I had my voice was in a couple of the Rams videos. I thought that was cool. But it's nothing like you creating something.
Look, when you're something you love or something that you interact with and you become a participant.
Yeah,
very exciting. It's look, I just don't take the stuff for granted. So I'm very just grateful for like I said, it's pretty amazing how it's all worked out so wonderfully. I mean, look, Deadpool was I'm going to tell you in deference to all the people who propped Deadpool up while he was appearing in 7 different Marvel video games. That's where my kids came to know him and love him. When he was high-end statues and action figures in big box stores for 2 decades. He was always supported by the fans who loved him so much. And then Ryan put him on Supercharge and took him and made him worldwide global phenomenon. So credit where it's due. But I'm always saying, but for the comic book creators, you don't get Captain America without Joe Simon, Jack Kirby. You don't get, Superman without Joe Siegel and Jerry. Joe. Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster. Excuse me. At least I corrected myself. We are the engines that generate this stuff, and I'll take that up for any comic book creator, because we are all too often kind of shoved aside and told like, well, thanks, take a seat. It's like, wait, that's all my raw material, So yeah. I've been very fortunate. I'm very grateful.
No, that's awesome. And, you're very humble about it, which is really cool. It's easy to root for. I mean, even if I didn't know who you were, so it's really cool. And, now we pivot to everybody wanted to hear about the Rams.
Yep.
How'd you become a Rams fan?
Growing up in Anaheim, California, in the shadow of when they moved to Anaheim. And right as that transition was happening, and in the wake of the Ferragamo era, Jack Youngblood, I mean, all of those incredible players. That's what was on my TV set when I was a kid. And then we had everybody has a family. We were a very, I even to call my family like middle class is probably a stretch. We were on a pastor's salary, but my mom's very best friend, they had season tickets to the Rams, and they grabbed me and took me to a game, and it was my first pro football game. So I'm 11 years old, flipping out, having the time of my life. And, once you make that connection, and those Rams, 1979, 1980 jersey, and that team was great. And then we enter into the Eric Dickerson era. And I'll just answer that question right now. My favorite Ram will always go down. Stafford and Cup and Puka are breathing on his neck, but Eric Dickerson, which pisses me off. I understand he had an extra game than some of the other people, but this Saquon Barkley shit, you have one full extra game to maybe match him. Like that conversation drives me crazy, but I realize that maybe Eric had extra games than the Jim Brown and the other people. So craziness, but that to have that record, I don't know if you remember. I think it was in the early 2000s, and who was it? Was it one of the Baltimore Ravens? I'm forgetting. They were closing in on Eric Dickerson's record, and it was Monday Night Football. It was like the last game of the season.
Ray Lewis?
No. It wasn't Ray Lewis. Ray was the defender.
I'm sorry, not Ray. Jamal Lewis.
That's it.
Why did I say Ray Lewis? I know Jamal Lewis.
They had Eric Dickerson on the broadcast in set from his house, and you could tell he looked miserable. He didn't want him to break the record, and they had him there to comment in case he did. And even afterwards, Eric was like, "Yeah, I got to be honest, I'm pretty happy with this outcome."
That's exactly how he said it with Adrian Peterson.
Yeah. I mean, look, that every time somebody gets close, they grab him. But hot damn, I always say if we would have found a way to hold on to him and pair him with Jim Everett, I'm going to tell you, I was at the game with my own money. I started to buy seat packages, and I was there at the Jim Everett era, and him and Flipper Jones and I thought Jim Everett was the next great. And for a couple of years, you got to remember, we freaking Rams fans thought we had him, but we could never get over the Niners. I tell my kids, like Montana and Rice and I'm blanking here, all those greats, that they just would stand in our way. And then when Everett sacked himself, obviously that was kind of all she wrote. That was unrecoverable from. But man, if we had kept Eric Dickerson, because that happened, Dickerson left and Everett arrived within the span of a season.
Yeah,
and a half. I just feel like we would have dominated. Trust me, these are Rams fans are haunted by this stuff, right? We're just haunted by these past failures. But when I signed, I had by 1990, I had bought my first season ticket package, and I had season tickets right up to when they left. I signed all the petitions, but I knew that they were on the bus out. They were going to change. People always like, you stuck through them through St. Louis? I'm like, yes. What am I supposed to do? Find a new team? That's just that didn't make sense to me, right? And so then obviously that team struggled and really had no success until the incredible Kurt Warner story, which, oh my gosh, what a great era, except I got to tell you, man, I'm still bitter as shit over that Patriots loss. But
Oh, I am too, man. And then we get a chance later on, and it's like the football gods are like, you know what? We don't know how to actually write a good story. We're just gonna have them lose again.
That was terrible. Literally both times. But that, I went to, it was so crazy because my friends were throwing a Super Bowl party. They knew that Joy and I, my wife and I, were giant Rams fans. We had hosted the Super Bowl in, for the 2000 victory, the 2001 broadcast. And when we wrapped up, whoever that Titan was, and he couldn't get over the threshold, and it's like, oh shit,
Kevin Dyson, yeah,
we got our victory. So 2 years later, our friends hosted, and of course you got to remember the world is post 9/11. My wife and I come in and everything's decorated Patriots. I'm like, what the shit? What's going on here? None of you have ever identified as a Patriots fan. And the host said, well, Rob, you have to understand, post what's happened in the country, we've got to really root for the Patriots. I'm like, I told my wife, I think I'm leaving. She's like, please don't make a scene. I sat there with a bunch of people who had never rooted for the Patriots before, but hey, man, they were Patriots. So obviously it's very difficult because the tragedy that, had befallen our nation. I understood if you're Johnny off the street football fan and you're going to root for somebody in the Super Bowl, you're going to root for the Patriots. But that killed me, man. The fact that we couldn't stop them from kicking that field goal, obviously it still pisses me off. I feel like we started the Tom Brady. Like there's a sliding doors where he never happens, right?
Oh, I know.
Where they lose. Kurt Warner's freaking two Super Bowls in 3 seasons. Good God. But we, the next year we actually went to about 6 games where they traveled, whether it was Seattle, San Francisco, and it was when our line went to shit and Kurt Warner was just getting thrown around like a rag doll.
Oh, yeah.
It was brutal. It was brutal to watch. And you're like, man, this dream is dying right now. So, I mean, who was it? Mark
Bulger.
He had some stuff there for a while. There was a brief minute. I'm like, maybe Bulger is the guy. But look, then that all goes to shit, right? And then we have those terrible Jeff Fisher years.
I didn't want the hire.
Yeah, no, I thought he was a bad hire. But hey, you know what? We're the Rams have been so just frustrating because they're so talented. But they have definitely, for my money, delivered since the McVay era. I mean, exciting, engaging. You can always count on them. And I see, like, you, me, people like us, what the business, what everyone kind of doesn't want to dwell on and wants to forget. We had that shit start, man. We lost everybody that opening game. I mean, the line fell apart. Puka, I mean, we just, by the time we got to Arizona week 2 this year, and they were breaking through the line, stopping, they were destroying. I thought they were going to injure Stafford. Like,
I was very concerned about that.
We could not stop them. Their ears were pinned back. They knew about all of our deficiencies, weaknesses. They exploited us. Look, we've obviously owned the Cardinals for a long time. And that hurt. Oh, it was like, I don't want to live in this world where Kyler Murray is succeeding against us.
I know.
Hey, are you the same? Like, don't you just hate every other team in our division? Just hate them with a passion.
It's interesting. I used to, and I feel like I've just kind of calmed down a little bit. I was getting a little bit over the top. You followed me. I was getting a little bit over the top with the Lions. Their fans are annoying. There are also some good fans. I'm still bitter about that playoff game.
No, they treated us like the refs looked the other way. They stepped on our players. And that illegal hit on Higbee, that is bullshit. To this day, everybody with a pair of eyes saw it. Detroit fans just don't care. They saw it too.
The Puka one was the worst at the end of the game.
Yeah, that was dirty. And but sometimes you realize, they've decided to just call the game a certain way. It's weird.
Rob is a fan.
I believe that whatever is going on with Stafford, he does not get the same amount of love that some of these other elite
I agree.
do, which is really frustrating because you're like, what does this guy have to do? But look, the Jared Goff thing is obviously a part of the Rams Lions kind of, they want to run over us and say that, we made the dumb decision. Hell no. Do you remember that season? I watched and followed Aaron Donald, and he would look to the sidelines like, you're wasting my prime with this kid. I can't play with this kid anymore. I believe he went to management. I've made this up in my head that he was like, I won't. I'm busting my ass. I am limiting scoring. even in that Super Bowl we lost. I think the defense is like, what were we supposed to do? We shut them down as much as we could, and
I know.
Right?
So frustrating.
I think Donald just laid it out, and Stafford, what a Cinderella story. First year, right? That was so great. But here's the deal, man. I'm going to tell you something. My wife and I were really fortunate enough, as I had told you earlier before we went on, the Rams contacted me and gave me seats, 50-yard line, second row for the NFC Championship game.
That's awesome.
And this great group of guys kept going, how are you in these seats again? And I'm like, they were gifted to me. Why? I'm like, I don't know. I'm a fan. But afterwards, when we beat the Niners in that NFC West game to advance, that is emotion like I have never felt in my life, especially considering how things had gone with us and them that season. But so I'm going to take you to the Super Bowl 2 weeks later, and we are same section. We're back a little ways. The celebrity most in our sights was Heidi Klum and her husband. I was like laughing. I think all the other big names were in all these suites, but kudos to her. She sat with the people. But there was two guys sitting next to my wife and I. They did not have Bengals gear on. They did not have Rams gear on. They just had normal T-shirts. They were probably in their 30s. And, the game starts and Rams do well. We cheer. They don't. Bengals do well. They go crazy. And I kept saying, what is the story with these cats? What is the story with these cats? Why are they rooting against the Rams when they're not identifiably Bengals fans? So when we finally are going to win in the last minute, they get the hell out of here and they walk past us. And I go, hey, what's the story? What's the story? We're Niners fans. We're San Francisco. We're from San Francisco. We effing hate you guys. And I'm like, then wear your shit next time, pussies. Then wear your shit. You are running right now because this went terribly wrong for you. Dude, undercover Niner fans were seated next to us the entirety of the Super Bowl. On the other side was this dude with a call girl. Like Joy and I are like, the minute they sat down, she goes, that is a call girl. I mean, this other guy didn't even speak English, but he was a Playboy Playmate, and they're just laughing and leaving and laughing. And I'm like, what's going on here? But yeah, I had two undercover Niner fans.
Man.
They would not identify until they left. But dude, I wasn't going to let it by. What's your story? I had to know. Because at this point, Jake, I'm crying. I can't believe we've won the Super Bowl. And I'm going to tell you something else. I'm just gonna put this out there. I don't know if you guys remember. You go back to that Super Bowl 3 years ago. Do you remember when the Bengals came out of the tunnel? Only one Bengal didn't have his helmet on. I'm there in the stadium. I want to jump down there and beat the snot out of that punk-ass Joe Burrow. He's like, I'm going to show my pretty boy face. Everyone else has their helmets. He's like, I'm a looker. I'm a good-looking kid. Look at me. I'm the guy. Oh, my gosh. And then he came to play, right? Holy shit.
Yeah, he was – I felt bad for him. I mean, that defense, that was one of the most dominant performances up front I think you'll ever see in a Super Bowl. But I got to say, I got to bring it up. You mentioned Super Bowl. How you're there, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm watching on TV. I'm in disbelief. But you're actually there. And you watch T. Higgins rip Jalen Ramsey's helmet back. And there's no call.
No.
How do you not jump on the field and punch the ref?
You got the feeling, look, man, you just get vibes, right?
Yeah.
And it felt like they wanted to anoint Joe Burrow. Certainly the messaging, the Rams did look, I don't know the statistics. I don't know how many teams have, I know others have, but to start the season knowing that the Super Bowl is going to be played in your home stadium and you pulled it off. But I felt like the script shifted to Burrow in the week before. And you just kind of got this feeling like they were maybe getting the slight benefit. But like you said, hard-fought battle.
Absolutely.
And look, with our defense played their asses off, but man, Stafford stepped into the limelight. Kupp, the best two games those two have played together. He's a gunslinger, man. Those underhanded throws, those no-look passes. you're like, this guy is phenomenal. I think Matt Stafford just seems like the nicest guy. Like, you know the quarterbacks out there who are cocky Joe Burrow, but Stafford just seems like a sweet guy. And I did feel for his wife when she's like, "What is going on? Why are our home games other people's like home games?" I'm like, feeling you, girl. It's going to take a while. I thought after the Super Bowl it would shift, but with certain fan bases, it doesn't.
I think the reason, just being out there for the first time, I think it's a very, I would say, corporate building. Yeah. I think someone described it to me as a shopping mall for the rich.
Yes.
And I just think you have a lot of people that have those suites, and they have those, section 200, section 100, and they have those tickets that they already have for clients, right? So a lot of these people aren't even fans of the Rams, and they're buying season tickets. And I mean, the Rams just aren't the Green Bay Packers, where there's a waiting list of 40,000 people right now waiting for season tickets. So unfortunately, I think that's what's hurting them. The good news is, first off, the Jets are not good this year, so they might actually do something at MetLife Stadium. We'll see how the Rams fans show up for that one. But then you have the Cardinals. They've always, like, the Cardinals are one of the home games of the year where it's an actual home game. They don't have to work on silent count. And the same thing with Seattle, who's getting outnumbered at Lumen, where you were like, wait, hold on a second.
That was great. We needed that. Man,
this is the 12th man. Like, what happened,
This is what I was telling you. These games, my kids have actually, like, I have my adult children are like, Dad, maybe it's time to stop watching games. My whole neighborhood knows when the Rams are on. Okay. I am not a silent fan, and these games are miserable. Miserable. They take so much out of me. Just again, the amount of talent, the way the defense just showed up this year, all these young Turks just acclimating so quickly, faster than I think anybody gives them really credit, given how young we were. And Vegas dropped us when Aaron retired, and oh man, the Rams aren't going to be any good, and completely overlooking all the weapons we have, right? I mean, we have great, but when they're all gone, look, that Chicago game was miserable. That Arizona game was miserable. We had no weapons, no protection. The fact that Stafford made it through that horrible period without a season-ending injury, which I feared, because then we're done. We don't have an answer for him. But I live in the here and now. I hope. I told you when we first hooked up, I saw that ESPN. What's it called? They ran like the statistics of the rest of the games through the season, and they have. You
saw the simulator where they lose.
F the simulator. We are not losing to the Jets. We cannot lose to the Jets. But they better not sleep on them. We've done that. I
agree.
Too much. We've done that too much. And that's what I told my wife. I go, if Saquon does win it, the Rams were the ones that gave him that giant game that got him out there in the biggest. The runs that we gave up against Philadelphia and the gains that he got that night, because isn't that his career game this year?
I think so. I mean, that was he got 70 of those yards when I was taking a picture with a fan. It was like I heard everybody going crazy, and I was like, well, we're outnumbered with the Eagles fans, so I'm going to assume this is not a good thing. And then sure enough, someone's like, oh, yes, that's Saquon just running down the field. I was like, does he have the ball, or is he on special teams? Like, nope, he has the ball. It's a touchdown.
That was really painful night. But I think some of these games, hopefully the Rams, like you said, it's going to be really cold. I don't think it's going to be an easy game. We never put anybody away. But look, the NFL parity, it feels like there's a lot of parity. Obviously, you got your breakout teams. And certainly, like Detroit had that stretch, but we have shown this Rams team. McVay is an offensive genius. He sometimes goes away from things that seem to be working, and we all see it. And it's like, are you not seeing this the way we're seeing this?
Oh my God!
But he certainly does have he's got an offensive mind like nobody else, right? And you just got to understand my thing with I do live streams, and I have quite a few 49er fans who, the night before that game, when we signed off, they're like, "Our season's on the line, Liefeld. You guys are going down." And I was like, "Wow, they are into it. This game is everything to them." But I always remind them, like, you guys haven't hosted a trophy in 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
We've hoisted 2. We've been to 4 Super Bowls. We've hoisted 2. Why do you act every year like you just won last year's Super Bowl? It's astounding to me. They actually believe like they are still, and I understand they've been to Super Bowls, but they can't get over the hump. I do love seeing Shanahan suffer. I do.
It's great.
And Brock Purdy bothers me to no end. I physically get ill seeing him, especially when he does his little boy. And then they cut to his parents. Dude, honestly, someday we'll watch it. We'll watch a game together.
We have to.
I'm nonstop narrating, pissed off the whole time. Okay, but no. I'm not like you. I hate everyone in our division. I hate everyone. Okay, the only maybe franchise I hate more than the Seahawks, the Niners, and the Cardinals is the LA Clippers. Okay.
You're a Laker fan, I assume.
My whole life, I live here. I'm born and raised. I think about being 12 years old when Magic Johnson lands with the Lakers.
Hell yeah!
I watched the playoff games after midnight on black and white TVs. We went to the games at the Forum. No. And trust me, I feel like I think the Rams kind of have the same take. I know that Lakers take a lot of shit, and I'm sorry you saw that awful game. It was awful. This Lakers squad is missing key pieces. Not on the team. We just need
to the Nuggets, man. I can't stand them.
Oh no, we all hate them. But yeah, no. When it comes to the NFL, I just think the Rams can play with anybody, and we don't praise Puka Nacua enough.
I agree.
Management for grabbing him. What a find! He's strong. He's fast. He's athletic as hell. He's brilliant. I do sometimes feel bad for Kupp, but what I try and tell my wife, Cooper Kupp has just had to resign himself to being the decoy now, because you saw he pulls 2 guys wherever he goes. They don't give up on covering Kupp. It just does inevitably free up, because you never know when they're going to juke you out and utilize Kupp instead. We have so many great weapons. I wish we used Tutu a little more.
Yes. Yes, Rob. Yes.
But are you like every game, like you're like, Kyron, don't fumble. Kyron, don't fumble. Matt, no interceptions. My Rain Man self, while I watch, those are my slides. No interceptions. Matt, no interceptions. But Kyron, don't fumble. No interceptions. Don't fumble. So,
it's more so me just like, throw it to Tutu effing Atwell.
So what do you think? Yeah, what do you think is going to go? How do you think this season plays out?
I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. As long as they stay healthy. As long as they stay healthy, they will win the Super Bowl.
We could.
You got championship pedigree. You got the best coaching staff in the league. You got health, right? They haven't been healthy all year. No. A healthy offensive line that is gelling. Stafford hasn't been sacked, right? A pass rush that's number 1 in the league, right? So you have a lot of good things. The linebackers are playing well. I'm a really big fan of, Omar Spates. And I think since Omar Spates has taken over, now you've seen Christian Roseboom playing off that. Yes. And then, I really like our young secondary. I mean, I will say this, and you've seen it. Everyone makes a joke about it. I think Akella Witherspoon is so underrated, and he needs to play more. He was outstanding in that 49er game. But I only have a few critiques. I mean, right now they're doing everything I really want them to do. And I am so stoked to have 89 back. I think Tyler Higbee is going to end up being huge for them down the stretch.
I hope he is fully healthy. He pulled down so many key catches for us in the last couple seasons. He is so great. Who's the guy who's been in his spot at tight end? Parkinson? Is it
Parkinson? I interviewed him. I like him.
We don't hit him enough.
But yeah, it's
look, we don't utilize our tight ends the way other people utilize, because we have the weaponry to do it. And your tight end, we have tall trees Obviously Higbee is superior. I'm glad he's back. No, I mean, I just Kitchens and Verse, all these guys, they've made some noise, man. I mean, they have made themselves known. Our defense is really impressing me.
Oh yeah,
those tip balls, slapping away some of those key plays. I mean, that is just fantastic athleticism, smarts. Like the downside, like we were talking, we gave up a lot of points in that Bills game, but the Bills, everybody gives up a lot of points to them.
Yeah.
Bottom line is we could hang with them. It's really interesting. I think Green Bay is really formidable. Obviously they've got a great coach. They've got talent. Detroit depends, right? How they hang together. Cause man, they are
a lot of injuries.
The injuries are piling up for them and their swagger seems to be waning, but we'll see. Philadelphia is the tough out to me. I feel like they're the best team in the NFC as we speak. And here's the thing is, there's something about even when they beat us at the Coliseum on their way to the Super Bowl that year. Because I took my son wanted to go. We got those. That's a Sunday night game, and it was like, oh, we're getting our ass kicked, but it's kind of fun. Because my son was just so excited to be there. But I don't hate Philly. I kind of like them. If the Rams something were to happen, I would root for Philly. I like Jalen Hurts, even though I don't want Saquon Barkley to break Dickerson's record. I mean, he's amazing, right? But the media loves to make up drama with them and their coach today.
I know.
They don't respect him.
They did it with Andy Reid. They forced Andy Reid out. I remember Sal Palantonio having to apologize on live air because he was tearing Andy Reid to shreds and pushed him out. And look at what Andy Reid's doing at Kansas City. I mean, they're a little annoying. Don't get me wrong. I'm tired of the Chiefs, but I always have to kind of check myself and be like, wait, I was on the Andy Reid train that he never should have been fired by Philly. Yeah. And it is nice to see him get the last laugh there. Another team, I think the Bills. I mean, if the Bills end up winning it all, I'd be really happy for the fan base. I'd be really happy for Josh Allen. I'd be really happy for Sean McDermott. I met him at the Senior Bowl. Okay. A few years back. Really nice guy.
We're going to be on separate paths on this one. Not a fan, not a fan, not a fan, and not a fan. But
you don't like the Bills?
No. I don't like. I get it. Josh Allen is super talented. That doesn't mean I have to like him. Okay.
I hear you.
But I cannot take away from his absolute talent. But as a weirdo sports fan, you kind of lock into these guys who are denied, and you go, I don't want you to ever achieve. I want you to run away being denied. Okay. It's a sickness. It's a sports sickness. Sports hate is real in my life and in my
absolutely.
I think it's the way I kind of process everything else is through sports hate, which burns bright in me. Okay. But I love my Rammies. I love them. I hope we keep racking up wins. I want to win out. I want to beat every team, crush the Seahawks, crush the Cardinals, get through the Jets, and see how it goes. Who would we draw? Would it be Minnesota? Would it be?
Are you ready for this hot take?
Yes.
It's going to be the Lions. I think they're going to lose the number 1 seed, and I think Minnesota is going to swoop in and take the division.
Wow. From Jake E, everybody. Straight. Okay, man. I'm going to watch.
I could be wrong, but I think the Lions are going to, because I think they're so banged up. They have 21 guys on IR. That eventually catches up to you. They lost Salim McNeil, their run stopper. That's going to be a problem. They lost Carlton Davis in the secondary. It's just nonstop with them. They lose David Montgomery on the ground. I mean, just a lot of injuries, and I think the Vikings just know how to win. It's not going to look pretty. I remember that Jacksonville game was 12-7, I think it was. Awful. But they find a way to win, and Kevin O'Connell is one of the best in the league. So I think
people don't give us enough credit for beating the Vikings when we beat the Vikings.
They don't at all. That never gets brought up, but they literally only have 2 losses.
I mean, it's like we are for certain games and certain matchups, we can really rise to the occasion. Look, it's that way. There's always teams the team that shouldn't give you problems gives you problems, and the team that should dominate you, you dominate. It's the beauty of sports.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm that. Jake, you got some good takes here, buddy. I believe we can win it all. I absolutely do, as long as we stay healthy. But that is for every team.
Yeah.
And protect the as you said, it's not brought up enough that they couldn't sack him in Buffalo. They couldn't sack him last week. We are really doing a good job. Knock on wood. We shouldn't be saying all these things. That Jets defense is better than advertised, and they are going to give us a run. It'll be interesting to see what we can do. I hope to God Aaron Rodgers and, is it Adams that they don't like reawaken, because last week they kind of started gelling again.
I know. And there are people like, oh, it's the Jaguars. I'm like, I don't give a rip. You have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams trying at the end of the season when they're not making the playoffs. That's not a good sign for next week. But, at the same time, the Jets have a lot of pieces. Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed in the secondary are going to be problems. I think you can throw on Chuck Clark. He's given up 4 touchdowns this year. So please, for the love of God, use Tutu Atwell. Also, this is one of the worst teams in the league against the bubble screens. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. And I think that Kyron Williams, since that Eagles game, has really been one of the better backs in the league. So I think that they are going to pound the rock. I think they win 31-24 in that Jets game.
Woo! All right. That's more points than I anticipate. Look, we the way that they, I just wish we'd use more play action too. Because
oh my God, I know
Stafford looks good when we put him in motion. Like, I know he wants to sit in the pocket, right? But every time. I got to be honest. We have so much weaponry, and McVay and his staff are really great at shifting and really throwing everything in the kitchen sink at these defenses. I mean, that's my belief. Like I said, I wasn't expecting our defense to be this good this year with all these young bucks. So there's hope. But like I said, there's just few. The NFL only has a few games compared to baseball and basketball. Everything, every week, every hope and all the hopes and all the dreams, I bring into a Sunday or a Thursday or a Saturday game. Yeah, it's just awful, because the minute something happens, then you're like, oh, I need this to play out. I need this to play out. Like when the Seahawks freaking beat Tampa Bay in the waning minutes of that game. Oh, that pissed me the hell off. I was so pissed. I was like, you are supposed to take the loss here.
How about the Seahawks beating the Jets in a game they didn't even deserve? It was like, what? That was ugly, and the Cardinals finding a way to win, one of those games. Yeah, it's irritating. I mean, the 49ers, it feels like every year they're that team. They just find a way to win at the end. Every interception seemed to bounce their way.
Not anymore.
No.
Okay.
No,
that window is closing, and you know it.
Absolutely.
They're getting old. They're getting expensive. I love all the Brock Purdy talk. For as much as I can't stand him, max him out, Niners. Max him.
Give him $80 million a year.
Make him the highest paid ever. Come on, lock him up. Siphon off all that money that needs to go everywhere else. I really, this is my life. Like I said, since Montana and Steve Young, all of it. I mean, they are the hated foes. I can't believe how many of them show up.
Oh, man.
Like I said, Super Bowl, I had two undercover. They were there. I don't know how they got their tickets, but they were there to hate on the Rams and openly root on the Bengals. So, but I get it.
Why does it feel like, despite the fact this team has been so bad for so long at times in their, history, they get to the promised land and it's like there's always so many people. They're like always the underdog. Like everybody's, and they're not the underdog, but people are rooting for the Patriots. People are rooting for the Titans. People are rooting for the Bengals. It's like, bruh, what did we do to you? I've always felt that way.
It's this way in comics too, Jake. I'm going to tell you right now. I broke this down to my wife about 5 years ago because look, there's nobody I talk to on planet Earth, and I was blessed with a wife who loves all sports: college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA. We are sporto crazy people. We devote way
That's
too much
awesome.
of our lives to watching all this crap. But I said, look, you're either a winner or you're a loser in everything, in movies, in TV, in comics. You know, if I didn't keep on winning all the time, I'd have a different career. Nobody rooted for the Patriots. Then they started winning. Then they started winning and winning and winning. And eventually the winning wears you down if you're an opponent and you just give yourself up to going, they're the freaking, you know, they're contenders. They're contenders. The Rams win again. It will 20%. It'll move 20%. Okay. It's in these increments. And then people are like, yeah, the Rams, because everybody loves a winner. But you just have to win. Winning. Look at the Niners. They still think they won the Super Bowl last year and the year before that and the year before that. They are drunk on Montana and Young still. That's how sweet that nectar was, right? So the Rams have gotten close and faltered. But look, man, that breakthrough year, that was a bitch, man. We beat some good teams. We had to go to Tampa Bay and beat Brady in his backyard.
Crazy.
But dude, Matt, props to you. I understand you grew up in Irvine and you were a Rams fan, and now you're.
My dad did.
Your dad. I mean,
yeah.
The family way has carried to you, Jake, and we are all the better for it. You entertain the hell out of me. You and all your buddies. I don't know all their names, but I follow all you guys. You guys all have hot takes. I'm just a nervous Nelly rolled up in a ball, sucking my thumb, screaming. You know, and like I'm on my sofa holding on for dear life in all these games, right? But that Buffalo game, that's the one that had me the most nervous, and we just played. Our offense was fantastic. And special teams. The special teams was the difference. We lose
absolutely.
That game. We lose that game, right? I mean, special teams gave us that point differential that made them they couldn't chase us any, you know. It was just too much for them to keep chasing. So, hey, man, we will have to do this again soon. I thank you for letting me share my Rams love. I do. They are my team. I don't have a second team. I just have teams I hate. But then, like, you know, once you're defeated, you go, well, who am I going to root for? I don't know why. I just like the Eagles, but not if they're playing us. But if somehow we were to be removed, I don't know. I like Jalen Hurts. He's a talented guy.
Yeah. I hear you, man. Well, I appreciate your time. I know you're really busy, and it just means a lot that you wanted to come on here, and you were ecstatic to come on here. So, you know, that makes me feel really good. I'm glad that you like my takes. Regardless, you're a really good dude. I'm glad, you know, we're connected now, and you're welcome anytime.
I raised my kids. My kids are Rams fans. I did the right. I seeded the next generation. Okay. So, hey, Jake, I will, when this is done, give me the link. I'll share it. Let's share the Rams love. You keep doing your thing. Maybe if we get a little further on, love to come back and catch up with you.
Absolutely. So, hey guys, that's going to do it for Rob. And of course, I'm Jake. This has been JE Live. Special shout out to Rob, the creator of Deadpool, diehard Rams fan. So many other things that we could say about him. Hope you guys enjoyed. This has been a blast. And I'm sure we'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.
Thanks, man.